What's up, everybody? Tyson Roush, Let's Talk Jets Radio. We broadcast live every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock throughout the entire offseason. We do draft shows, free agency previews, we'll have players on, and all kinds of stuff. So we do go year-round. Be sure to check out our new YouTube channel, Let's Talk Mental Health. Subscribe, check it out, leave us feedback. We'd appreciate it. And this video is about the offseason and the power structure with the Jets and the decision-makers with the Jets, which I think is going to be a fascinating story the entire offseason. Now, Joe Douglas was obviously brought in by Adam Gase, or their whatever, however you want to phrase it. He came in, they're friends, they're supposedly work hand in hand, they work together, everything else, which is great. But when push comes to shove, it's going to be interesting to see who makes the final decision on a player. And there's a couple guys where you could have varying opinions. I mean, obviously we've talked about Le'Veon Bell. Adam Gase doesn't want him, or doesn't. It's obvious he doesn't want him on a team. But the problem is the contract is not exactly ideal in terms of trading him. So, are you willing to eat $4 or $5 million in order to trade him off? And what are you getting back in return? A fourth round pick? Is that even worth it? Is it is it this player that much of a problem that you say, you know what, he's got to go? And who makes the ultimate decision? Can Joe Douglas tell Adam Gase, no, listen, man, I understand you don't like him, but you as a coach got to find ways to use him? Or does Adam Gase say, listen, man, I'm not going to play him. So you find a way to get rid of him. There could be an ultimate pissing contest. And if those two guys who are on the same level, they both report to Chris Johnson, who makes the final decision? Is it ownership? And it could be ownership who's saying, listen, this is a popular player. I don't want to trade him. So it seems like there could be some problems there. So the first question is between Gase and Douglas, who makes the final decision? Who has the most say? And then you have the question of, where does Greg Williams come into this? And the reason why I ask that is, say Greg Williams says, you know what, I need Jordan Jenkins back, or I need whoever, Brian Poole back, or I need somebody back. And he bangs on the table for him and doesn't get what he wants. How does that work? And if Gase and Williams both want him back and Joe Douglas says no, to me, there seems like I'm not really sure how much symmetry is there, how much chemistry, There seems like there's a lot of egos in that locker room between you have Williams and Adam Gase, very, very, very strong personalities, and Joe Douglas, the new guy, who's going to try to, rein all this in and make that decision. So how does that play out? If Greg Williams doesn't get his way, does he become disgruntled? Does he want to leave? This is the first offseason really of dealing with all these different dynamics. Then the ultimate thing is ownership, and this is where I have an enormous concern, especially if the Jets trade Le'Veon Bell. And I think the first way the Jets can buy some leeway with the fans is get Jamal Adams signed long-term, which we talked about in the last video. The Jets right now are going to have a very difficult time selling tickets. They're losing PSL holders. This team is not marketable, primarily because Adam Gase is returning as head coach. Listen, the 6-2 story that the last 8 games is great. Fans don't care. They want a winning, playoff contending product, and nobody likes the coach. It's not a very easy team to sell. So when ticket sales go in the dumpster, ownership gets involved, and they're going to say, listen, if the Jets trade Le'Veon Bell, then what? Then you're going to have to make some kind of splash move, something to get fans in the seats. Sam Darnold's not going to do it. Re-signing Jamal Adams to a big deal will buy you some leadway, will buy you some wiggle room. It's still not going to be enough. You need something else, and this is where I worry about Jets ownership getting in the way of whatever rebuilding process that Joe Douglas has. He could have a blueprint saying, listen, we're going to go a lot of draft picks. We're going to get more mid-level guys, not chase the big names, and we're going to build that way. That way, while it may make a lot of sense, it may not make dollars and cents because nobody's going to buy tickets that way. Fans are skeptical. Fans are hesitant, and that's what's going to happen. And I'm curious if Chris Johnson will butt in and say, listen, you got to get me a big name. You got to find me something to sell. I need these headlines. I need these ticket sales. So it starts with, what does Gase and Williams want? What does Joe Douglas want? And what does Jets ownership want? It's a lot of questions. A lot of different agendas, a lot of different narratives to see how you get these players in the fold. And then you combine, and then it's like you have guys like Robbie Anderson. That could be a sense of, does Joe Douglas want to pay him $14 million? What if Adam Gase does? Like I said, Jordan Jenkins, all these different things. There can be so many different issues here. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. I don't necessarily have a level of confidence. Joe Douglas's resume is phenomenal, but this is his first time running a team. That's just, let's call it what it is. He came from two very good organizations, with the Ravens and Eagles. Phenomenal resume, but he was brought in by a coach that is very power hungry and wants to stay on personnel. I don't care what the media is telling me. I don't care what they're saying in public. They're trying to make it all look great and smooth and dandy, like it's one big happy family. Behind closed doors, I'd like to see that too, because I don't believe it. I'm not going to believe it until it actually happens. We saw last year where Adam Gase had a say in personnel, and when the guys didn't work out, he's like, "Oh, it wasn't my guy. That's Maccagnan's guy." Well, now that excuse is gone. So now isn't he point the finger at Joe Douglas? Oh, you got me a guy I didn't want. I don't think that's going to happen. So this is going to be interesting. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out. I'm really concerned where I think the agenda for Joe Douglas could be much different than the agenda from ownership and Adam Gase, and that's going to be a problem. We've seen this in the past. I'd like to be wrong, and I'd like to hope that they're all on the same page. But the last thing you want is just one guy chasing names, one guy chasing bargain basement players, the other guy just not knowing what he's doing at all. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, we're live Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, and we'll talk to you then.